Back to markets in a bit, but there are flashes at the bottom of the screen. This is important. I mean, the tiff between the governor and the chief minister and, of course, the cabinet in Delhi reached the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court actually has come out with its opinion on the matter. It's saying that the governor should sort of work in consultation with the cabinet, with the ministers, the cabinet in Delhi. Ashmit has been in the Supreme Court tracking this. He's joining in with some of the key sort of opinions expressed by the top court. Ashmit, over to you.
So this was a big constitutional confrontation that was, in fact, before the apex court. The Delhi government clearly pointing out, aggrieved by various orders of them having been hamstrung by actions of the Lieutenant Governor, had moved the apex court. The question that essentially the apex court was dwelling over is that as per Article 239 AA, is it the prerogative of the Lieutenant Governor to consider the opinion of the Council of Ministers? And if yes, is he essentially bound by it? Now, in what appears to be a massive victory as far as the Aam Aadmi Party government is concerned in Delhi, the apex court, in at least a majority judgment, has held the Lieutenant Governor is indeed bound by the aid and advice of the Council of Ministers. In fact, the CJI, who was pronouncing the judgment, spoke at length about the need for a collaborative federalism, for a pragmatic federalism, wherein there is some form of consensus and cooperation between various constitutional stakeholders. And in pursuance of that principle, the apex court has held is that the Lieutenant Governor must not act in a mechanical manner, that any and every order that is passed by the Delhi government should not be forwarded, should not be referred to the president. Only in cases of genuine discomfort or disagreement between the two sides, only in those cases should the president be consulted, and the matter should be consulted to the president. And even in such cases, the difference of opinion of the Lieutenant Governor should be rational, should be reasonable. And what's interesting is that what appears to be perhaps a word of caution, a word of warning to the Lieutenant Governor, is that the apex court has also recorded as a part of its judgment that the Lieutenant Governor, being the administrative head, should not play the role of the obstructionist. These, of course, are the initial observations that we are getting from the judgment. As the day continues, we'll get the order copy as well. Thank you.
Ashmit, this is more in the nature of advice from the Supreme Court, right? I mean, would this, because it's at the end of the day, the interpretation would be left to the Lieutenant Governor again. I mean, how to interpret this, in what situation it should be taken up with the president, etc., etc. Would that be correct?
Well, as far as laying down of the principle is concerned, this is a big U-turn, is what we essentially have. Because essentially what the Delhi government had held back in the year 2016 is that the LG is the administrative head, and second, perhaps more importantly, that he is not bound by the aid and advice. That was at the epicenter of this entire crisis between the Delhi government and the Lieutenant Governor. The question being that in matters where the Legislative Assembly of the Delhi government has authority in those matters, is the Lieutenant Governor bound by the aid and advice? So towards that extent, the principle has been laid down very clearly by the apex court. The apex court doing a U-turn from the Delhi government's order, making it very clear that the Lieutenant Governor cannot be mechanical, cannot be obstructionist, and is bound by the aid and advice of the Council of Ministers of the Delhi government. So clearly on that part, the principle clearly has been laid down, but of course these are just the conclusions that have been read out as a part of the open court. We'll of course get more details once the judgment copy is made available.
All right, Ashmit, we're going to leave it on that note. Thanks very much for joining in. Well,